You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. When an aching shoulder pain persisted, our next guest never could have imagined the path that lay ahead for her.
Being faced with a life-changing diagnosis, Annmarie O'Connor is sharing her story in her new book, Twitch, and she joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
OK, so you're working in the fashion industry.
Yes.
You're travelling here, there and everywhere,
yes,
living the life, and then suddenly something happens.
Yeah.
When did you notice that something
This
wasn't
happened
right?
during lockdown, during COVID. There was a lift in lockdown restrictions, and I took the advantage to do a photo shoot because I could work again and I needed the money. So I got back from the photo shoot, and it was a few days later, I had like an ache, a dull thud like in my shoulder, and I couldn't remember. I was like, what happened here? I must have been carrying around those heavy bags. It's been months since I've worked on a shoot. You know, my muscles are waking up, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, the pain was so bad, I couldn't lie on my right-hand side. I couldn't lift my right arm over my head. And I just thought, okay, this is strange. I don't know what's going on here. So I was incredibly stiff and rigid. And about 2 weeks after that, it was a twitch. It was a small involuntary movement in the fingers of my right hand. And that, because I had the time to listen to my body during lockdown, because I didn't have anything else competing for my attention, I could feel the kind of wave-like rhythm until it became a steady shake. So I called my sister and I said, I don't know what's happening. And she said, look, get in contact with your GP when the country reopens, but it's probably just a trapped nerve. So I did. It was 5 months later, got to see my GP because the country...
5 months.
5 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Then I had 3 MRIs. They all came back negative. And during that period of time, which is about 13 months, it went from a frozen shoulder and a now obvious tremor to my right leg being really heavy and dragging when I walked. Restless legs. I had incredible muscle spasms and cramps in my feet, which I now know as dystonia. And then I had like stiffness, slowness. I almost felt like I was going in slow motion sometimes.
Right, okay.
And my handwriting got so small and cramped. It was around Christmas time. I was writing Christmas cards and I was like, well, these look like ransom notes. Like Auntie Mary isn't getting season's greetings this year. And then more worryingly, my hand began to cup inwards and I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't apply makeup. I couldn't open a bag of coffee without it spilling all over the place. So my GP called me and said, you know, your brain MRI came back clear, but this is just not consistent with, you know, the MRIs aren't consistent with what's happening to you in real time. So she sent me to University College Hospital in Cork, to the acute medical unit the following day. She said, bring a book, you'll be there for the duration. I saw a nurse, I saw several doctors, a neurologist, and then the man who would be my consultant neurologist. We went through the origin story of my symptoms, history, this, that, and the third. He did a few tests and he's like, you've got early onset Parkinson's. Wow. And I was like, come again?
Yeah.
Was it on your radar at all? Were you familiar with it in any way?
I was familiar with it because my GP did say, okay, it could be one of anything. This is when it was just a tremor. You know, it could be a trapped nerve. The shoulder MRI ruled that out. It could be, you know, essential tremor. It could be Parkinson's. It could be a number of things. It could be something really simple. And because we were going through COVID, which was a clear and present danger at the time, I was like financially like dealing with the stress of having like 60% of my work completely just off the table. And I was going through perimenopause. And there are many symptoms of perimenopause that are similar to that of Parkinson's.
There are actually.
So and I'm a glass half full kind of girl, and I was like, hardly. Like Parkinson's is something that happens to elderly men, or at least that was my misconception. And so I got a crash course in what Parkinson's was and how it affects 40% of those diagnosed are women. And, you know, there are 18,000 of us in Ireland. And even though I was diagnosed under the age of 50, 10 to 20% of all people diagnosed under the age of 50 are known as early onset. So there is a cohort of us who are much younger.
Okay, so there's a community. Did you find any support within that community?
I did indeed. I am just proud to be a member of Parkinson's Ireland because they've been instrumental in helping me on my journey. Your consultant, my consultant, is wonderful, but your consultant can only see you twice a year, even though, you know, they're great in the early stages and will help you on your journey. But you need to, it's very important. I'm a big advocate of self-advocacy and learning about your disease. And this is where having the support groups like Parkinson's Ireland becomes a great adjunct to the support that you get from the hospital and from your clinicians. So Parkinson's Ireland have several nurses. And so I called up once. I thought my symptoms were getting worse. It was just, I wasn't taking care of myself properly. I was taking my medication with food, and protein can sometimes interfere with the absorption of and the uptake of levodopa, which is the medication that we take. I was taking it dry and on the fly. You're supposed to take it with lots of water because it has to get through your system. Okay. I was doing things the wrong way, you know? So I just got an education. I was like, oh my God. And then I said, I feel so silly. And the lovely nurse, Lisa, said, why would you feel silly? You're dealing with this massive diagnosis. You're trying to manage this while working, while being freelance, while being a sister, a friend. Like, you have so many roles in your life. Parkinson's is only part of it, you know? So part of what I've learned and what I, you know, espouse in my own philosophy is learning how to live well with Parkinson's, because it's like suddenly having a roommate, like, hello, this person now lives with you, and you have to learn what their habits are, what they like, what they don't like, and how it's going to affect your life, you know. And a lot of it is a crash course, it's an education, but what Parkinson's Ireland do well is they have videos and they have Zoom calls. So you can jump on a Zoom call when the nurses will be giving you an education on, just say, menopause, how it affects menopausal women. And then you can get your information from one of the, like Lisa, again, is just such an amazing nurse. There is, it was through her and Rochelle Flanagan, who is another person with Parkinson's. She's a dietitian and she does a lot of work for women with Parkinson's. And through them that I learned that declining levels of estrogen eat into already low levels of dopamine. And for women, it's really important to understand how your hormones, in particular at your certain age in life, impact your experience of Parkinson's, because it will be completely different to a man. Everyone's experience is different because there are over 40 symptoms, and they call it the boutique disease because no two people have the same experience. And I was like, well, you know, a vintage Hermes Kelly handbag would have been preferable, you know. But here you go, I've got Parkinson's.
When you wrote this book, did it help you come to terms, I suppose, or was it in any way therapeutic? Because talking about such a personal journey and the way it's impacted your day-to-day life, it must have been quite heart-wrenching to put it into words.
It was, and you're right, it was therapeutic. It took me 9 months to write it. I treated it like a project. I gave myself word counts, but there were times, like there was one chapter on grief, chapter 5, that was like, that was my Everest. I wrote it and I rewrote it and I rewrote it again. And I had to go through the grief process. I had to really dig deep to find out how Parkinson's affected me, because initially I hadn't grieved. I went into survival mode, and I was looking at the practicalities, learning about this disease, figuring out, you know, how it's going to affect me. And I was lying on my sofa, I was scrolling through TikTok videos, and there was one, the voiceover said, with Parkinson's, we only treat the symptoms. We don't treat the disease. It's incurable and will only get worse. And then it hit me, and I was like, oh my God, this is happening to me. And I started crying for the first time. And that was the first of many times that, you know, because grief is not linear. And
grieving the life you thought you'd have.
Yeah.
Grieving the life I thought I'd have, like I had to grieve the life I thought I had, the person I thought I was. I had to give up styling because my tremor is quite active, even with medication. And, you know, that can be, that's not the greatest thing for a model if you're operating with pins and scissors and things like that. And also energy management is something that people may not know, I should say. With Parkinson's, you get really tired. You know, the medication can make you really drowsy, and your ability to execute as you used to do, like Martin said, going from here, there, everywhere, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that spontaneity is gone.
That spontaneity is gone. So I have to make plans. Everything is rigorously timed. Our medication, our phrase in Parkinson's is on time all the time. So we have to keep diaries in case you have like off periods. Like I most recently, my medication I was more off than on. So they treat it as like a light switch. You want to be on most of the time because it's bright. You can see what you're doing. If things are off, you're fumbling around the dark, you know. And when my medication was off, I was able to go to my clinician, my consultant, and say, these are the times that I'm noticing that my tremor is getting worse. And then she was able to say, great, okay, we'll be able to meet you halfway and give you this medication, and that will get you over that hump, as it were. Okay. But there's a constant stream of communication. You can't, this is not the type of disease that you just, I thought it was take a few tablets and I'll be grand. You know, I was told that, you know, in about 5 years, you might need to start changing your medication. Your body habituation will kick in, and you might need to increase your medication. So I thought, I've got a buffer of 5 years to make money. And it wasn't like that at all. You know, it was from 2 weeks later, I was getting side effects from the medication, and Parkinson's basically calls the shots. So you have to be very, very conscious of its sneaky ways, so that, you know, you can't be passive. I think that would be my takeaway from this.
The book.
Which available in all good bookstores now, and of course online. Annmarie O'Connor, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.